My sister invites our cheating father and his mistress to her baby's naming party because he promised her a check, but our mother's check was bigger, and now she wants to rebuild the bridges she bombed. I should start with the context of what happened with my father. About 8 years ago, my parents got divorced because my father had been cheating on my mother for a couple of years and got his affair partner pregnant. He decided to file for divorce and be with his partner instead, basically, the full cheating lover baby divorce package. And I don't say it like that because he's a man. If my mother had been the cheater, I would think the same of her. And of course, since my sister and I were already old enough at that time, we decided with my mom that we needed to remove our father from our lives. My sister was 19, I was 22 back then, and in the last 8 years, I have had no contact with my father. But a couple of years ago, when my sister got married, my father apparently reached out to her and asked for forgiveness because he wanted to walk her down the aisle. She said no and didn't even invite him. I thought that was the end of it, but recently I found out that she did reconnect with him and that in the last few years they have been reconciling. Personally, I have no problem with that. I cannot forgive my father for what he did. I don't see any good person doing something like that to someone else. But I know it hurt my mom to find out, because until now she had been pretending that she still had nothing to do with our father. So what hurts is the lie. Keep in mind that my mother was never the type of person who made us choose between the two. Even during the divorce, she always said that she wanted us to do whatever we wanted and that she would never hold it against us if we chose to reconnect or forgive our father at some point. My sister could have been honest about the whole thing, but she chose not to be. Instead, she decided to drop it on me and my mom all at once during her daughter's naming ceremony. Basically, on my mom's side of the family there's a tradition in which the baby's name is announced to the rest of the family at a party with everyone present, so they can make it a big event. That's what my sister did, following our mom's family tradition. I had mine, my sister had hers, so this was pretty important because it was a tradition passed down from my mom's side of the family. It was even more special for her. But my sister ruined everything by acting behind our backs and inviting our father and his family to the event. We were shocked when my father walked in with his wife and 2 kids. He entered acting as if everything was fine, greeting everyone like nothing had happened. I get it, it was awkward, but that made it even more awkward. And we were even more shocked when my sister approached him, hugged him, and brought him over to us so we could greet him too. Even though she could clearly see that we were visibly uncomfortable and embarrassed, she said that she had invited him because with a grandchild on the way, she might need all the help she could get from the grandparents. Also that the birth of her daughter was important, a good omen, the opportunity for all of us to get along. It wasn't necessary to forgive each other, just to get along for her daughter's sake and not hold on to bitterness anymore. The problem is that neither my mother nor I were holding bitterness. We didn't think much about my father, but we also weren't going to pretend that everything was fine. Obviously, we had a lot of questions, and I didn't bother being polite. I simply asked her what was going on, and that's when she explained everything. She tried to keep things under control, but my mom simply stood up and left after she said it all. She felt insulted that in a family tradition she was ambushed like this without even being asked. I was also about to leave, but my sister grabbed me aside and started trying to explain everything. And that's when the real motives came out. Apparently, after the birth of her baby, she had been planning to quit her job to stay at home and be a full-time mother. But her husband told her that it wouldn't be a feasible idea to quit her job completely because they needed both of their incomes to maintain the household. She didn't agree with that and talked to our father about it. He was basically writing her a big check, as long as he could attend the naming ceremony and as long as my sister at least tried to get me to talk to him. She started telling me that she really needed it, but I was simply disgusted because it was obvious that she was doing all this for money and nothing else. And to be honest, I don't even think her husband was being unreasonable, because I know many working mothers. It wasn't as if he was going to make her handle everything alone, he was there to support her, and he has always been extremely understanding and a good husband. So I don't understand why she wanted to quit her job knowing that it would cause him problems. But that's just my opinion. She can do whatever she wants in her marriage. The only problem I had was the fact that she basically betrayed my trust and my mother's because she needed a big, juicy check from our dad. And that is simply being cowardly. Anyway, after listening to her, I left. And when I got home, I told my mother everything, which added more anger from her toward my sister. And that explains why my sister calls me a snitch, but I don't care because I think it's the right thing. My dad lied to her for years because of an affair, my sister lies now for money, and I was not going to be the other person in her life who hid things, so my mom was also very upset naturally. She told me it was pretty pointless for my sister to have done something like this, because my mother was already planning to write her a check as a grandmother's gift so my sister could save it for her daughter's future. And if my sister had had the common sense to talk about her problems with us, my mother could have written her a check and given her an even larger amount to help her, because it's not like she lacks money and she's not stingy either. But instead, my sister chose to betray us and break our trust. Now she is losing her relationship with our mom because my mother has decided that she is not going to speak to my sister and is going to take a step back, even if that means not being able to visit her own granddaughter for a while. And of course, any money that my mother had been planning to give my sister as a gift is off the table as well, because she is truly hurt. On the other hand, I don't know what my father will do, because I haven't spoken a single word to him in years, not even at the party. But according to my sister, that check is conditioned on me talking to him, which I am not going to do because I am not interested. We're not talking about a life or death situation where if I don't talk to my father she won't get the money for a costly surgery. This is simply that she doesn't want to be a mother and work at the same time, which I find a bit selfish. It's not that I think it's right or wrong, but I do think it's not my responsibility to help her with that. Now my sister is demanding that I help her fix the situation and repair the burned bridges because I am the one who snitched, but my decision is made and I'm not going to do any of that. The bridges were already burned the day she brought our father, the money is just one part of everything. My mother is already offended by what my sister did and has every right to be. That's the person my sister chose to betray her with. Before doing something more mature, like divorcing before starting a new relationship. Still, my sister thinks I am the reason our mother turned against her, which I also don't think she really believes. It's just that I am like her last hope that our mother might give her a chance. But if you want my opinion, my mother is a strong woman with a lot of personality, so I don't think anything I tell her will change her mind. So what do you think? Am I the bad person for telling my mother everything about what my sister did and making her angry to the point that she doesn't even want to talk to her anymore? Update 1. I don't know why some people got the impression that I planned to apologize to my sister, because that was never my intention. I only expected to have an objective look at our whole family situation, because objectivity is hard from the inside. That was never part of the plan anyway, because I think what she did was really unpleasant and in bad faith. To be clear, if she needed money she could have said so and we would have helped her. Although that isn't the core of the issue either, because it's not like she lost her job. In fact, my mother isn't even upset about the fact that she invited our father to the event. She is upset about all the lies and the secrecy. It's simply ridiculous, and I know my mother and I know what kind of person she is, and she never would have had a problem with any of this if my sister had simply been transparent and honest. And for some reason, my sister thought she couldn't do that, even though we have always supported her in everything. In my previous post I said it was likely she wouldn't get the check because she didn't meet the conditions my father imposed, but apparently I was wrong, because that's not what happened. Good for her, I guess. A couple of weeks have passed since the incident, and a few days ago I found out from a friend that they had bought a new car and posted it. So if she's comfortable making those expenses, that means she has the check our father wrote her. You can't go from complaining that you need 2 incomes to making those purchases. And the fact that she hasn't bothered to contact me or my mother in these last few weeks is also a clear sign that she got what she needed, and we are pretty disposable. Which is positive, because it means less harassment from her. Obviously she is my sister and my mother's daughter, which is why we loved her. And if she wants to take our father's side for money, she is completely free to do so. But if one day she thinks she can repair the relationship with us, she is very mistaken. At least I speak for myself, I cannot say. Exactly what my mother will do, although I can guess. Deep down I can imagine that it will happen, because our father is not a trustworthy person and he likes to disappoint people. I know I haven't said much about him in my post, because just saying he was unfaithful is enough to paint a picture of him. But I could sit down and write for hours about the times he let us down as his daughters, because of the affair, many things he missed by working late when in reality he was doing other things, if you know what I mean. Maybe I'm wrong, and I really hope I am for my sister's sake. But if I'm not, I hope she doesn't think she'll have a sister waiting to receive her. Update 2. To summarize, it's been a year since we stopped talking to my sister, and recently my mother and I decided to take a trip together. We went hiking, it was pretty fun, and of course, yes, we missed my sister and her company, because at another time we would have gone with her. But at the end of the day, we have to make the best of the situation, so we tried to have as much fun as possible, and we definitely did. I posted a couple of pictures, and somehow they reached my sister, and that was it. I don't know what happened, but after a year she suddenly felt compelled to contact me after seeing that post. She sent me an email saying she was very upset that we had taken a trip together and didn't even think of inviting her, knowing how much she loves adventurous and outdoor things, and it's true, she really does love that. She also mentioned that in the past we used to plan that kind of trip together, including her, and that even so we never thought to invite her. She said it was quite hurtful. She added that she is extremely upset because in the last year neither my mother nor I have gone to visit her, and that she has had to deal with being a mother on her own without any help from her sister or her mother. And she's right, it must have been hard for her. But again, she's the one who ruined things and never bothered to genuinely come to us and apologize. She never even apologized to our mother. She simply let it pass and never cared to contact us. And now suddenly she's upset and offended because we haven't included her in our plans or been part of her life. I mean, I could say the same about her, right? It's simply ridiculous to play the blame game instead of acknowledging the fact that she's the one who messed up. She's pretending she didn't do anything and conveniently has forgotten why we haven't had contact with her for so long in the first place. Anyway, I didn't know what to say, so I simply didn't reply to that email, because I didn't think anything good would come out of it. We would only end up fighting and arguing, and I don't have time for that. It's simply pointless. I told my mother, and she had the same reaction as I did. She was quite upset and disappointed by my sister's behavior, because she was pretending she had no blame in all this, and that was discouraging. We both agreed the best thing we could do at that moment was simply ignore the email and let it go, because we had nothing to say. Update 3. Since I didn't respond to her email, my sister decided to double down, and this time she was really cruel. She wrote me another email saying she was quite glad that I had decided not to answer, because she had thought about it and decided that I didn't deserve to be in her life anyway. I don't know what the difference is compared to how things already were, because she hasn't bothered to explain that either. Now she did explain other things she thinks about me. She called me a bitter spinster, which I didn't even know people still used as an insult, but kudos to her creativity, I guess. She said that I resented her and that I was unhappy with the fact that she got married even though she's younger than me. She said she was happy with her life, that she had a baby and a family, that she had everything she wanted, and that I was jealous of her for all of that. She also said that I was deeply unhappy with my own life, and that's why I couldn't make a man stay, and that's why I wasn't married yet, and that my only life was my job. Which, to be honest, is a pretty bold assumption considering she hasn't been in contact with me for almost a year. And even if that had been the case, I don't think there would be anything wrong with it. I'm focused on my career, that's true, and I'm single by choice. My last relationship really didn't work out, and after that I decided to take a break. I don't see anything sad about that. I only see someone choosing herself. It's not like I need to justify myself, but anyway. For what it's worth, in the last month and a half I've actually been talking to a guy and it's going well. We're not exclusive or anything, but that's just for now. I can see this eventually turning into a relationship, and I'm happy about it. I don't understand why she would assume that I'm jealous of her and her life, because I've never been the kind of person who's very interested in marriage and babies. Even though I have no problem with people who do want that kind of life, it's simply not for me. So her implying that I'm jealous of her is just strange, because she was supposed to be my sister. She knows me well enough to know that isn't true. I guess she just wanted to hurt me, and unfortunately for her, she couldn't. But she definitely made herself look like a fool and lost all respect with that email. She calls me bitter and jealous, but she's the one sending me an email because she's jealous of my relationship with my mother, a relationship that, by the way, is based on how much we love each other, not because she wrote me a check. I think she is the jealous one, because she lost that with our mother. My father hasn't disappointed her yet, and maybe he never will. But if he ever does, she's still digging her own grave. Edit, I don't know if my father is still giving her a check. I don't talk to him or to my sister, but from what I can gather through mutual acquaintances, she isn't working right now. And unless her husband got some kind of promotion from somewhere, that money has to be coming from someone. As for her baby, I know she was born healthy. We haven't met her because of the issues with her mother, but even so, we care about her. We're still her grandmother and aunt. Update 4. It was in 2022 the last time I posted here, so I don't expect everyone to remember my story from 2 years ago. That's why I left a summary above, but you can also read the previous posts on my profile if you want all the details. That way we can jump straight into what has happened recently and not waste time. My sister is divorcing her husband. Although it's not completely recent, it has been going on for a few months. All that's left now is the division of assets and the custody agreement for my niece. You're probably wondering what happened, because I wondered the same when the news reached me. My father, for some reason I don't know, stopped sending checks to my sister. I don't know the details of that, but I do know the reasons for the divorce. Obviously, with less money coming into that household, my sister needed to go back to work. Her soon-to-be ex-husband has been talking a lot about their relationship with other people, and that's how I was finally able to learn more details, though probably not everything you'd like to know. Her husband had a point. Their daughter was already a bit older, she could stay with a babysitter or at daycare, and my sister could go back to work. Yes, but once you get used to staying home all day without doing much, it's hard to go back. And I don't say that because taking care of a child isn't work, it absolutely is, but because my sister always had help from her husband. It's not like he only worked and left everything to her, or at least that's what he has said. Apparently he got tired of her refusing to work and of the money no longer being enough. They made it through by selling one of their cars and other valuable possessions, but even so, my sister still didn't want to go back to work. That's why her husband is requesting not only joint custody, so he won't have to pay child support, but also that he doesn't have to pay spousal support either. And he might win, because she was the one who chose not to work, and the checks from my father are considered her income. So she can't argue that she earned less than her husband throughout the marriage. Again, this isn't a lawyer's opinion, it's just me writing what I think. I can't say the husband is the bad guy here, even though I don't know all the details. But my sister took the easy way out, and these are the consequences. Which brings us to how I found out about her divorce. Well, it was my sister herself who wrote to tell me, and also to try to reconnect with my mother and with me. She said she was in the middle of a divorce and that some family support would be good for her, which probably indicates she no longer has much of a relationship with our father either. She even apologized, something I thought I would never see in my lifetime. My decision is that this changes nothing with my sister. She chose her own path. I also showed the email to my mother, because my sister mentioned wanting to reconnect with her, and she feels the same as I do. My mother believes that even though my sister never cheated, for obvious reasons, she betrayed her trust in the same way my father did. If they had just been honest from the beginning, nothing that happened in the last few years would have been a drama. But they chose the worst possible path and for the worst possible reasons, so now they have to lie in the bed they made. As for me, I feel a slight itch in my hand to reply to my sister. I'm curious to know what happened with my father, because I like confirming the reasons why I was right. I'd also like to tell her that since I'm supposedly so jealous, she shouldn't expect anything good from me. But at the same time, I don't really see the point. And maybe, if the comments think it's a good idea, I'll do it. but if not, this will be my last update. Update 5. People really wanted an update, so most encouraged me to respond to my sister. It wasn't a great reply on my part, I wasn't particularly inspired. I just asked her why she wanted us in her life if I was supposedly jealous, and also why she needed us when she had our father to help her through all of this. It was kind of a disguised "I told you so," and it worked. She used the strategy of attacking our father so we would see her as the victim and maybe take her side, because we don't exactly like him either. But as you'll read, it didn't work. My father betrayed her in a way. He started prioritizing events involving his children with the other woman over those of his granddaughter. It got to the point where it started to irritate my sister. And she must have been desperate for us to forgive her, because she said something that didn't make her look good. But when she wrote it, she thought speaking badly about my father would help us take her side. My sister confessed she knew about one of my father's affairs, which didn't surprise me, but what did surprise me was that my sister, out of pure spite toward him for not being the father she expected, told the other woman about it. That led to their divorce and to my father cutting the checks, because she betrayed him, and now he's probably paying child support. Sorry, but no check is worth all that drama. This is why my mother and I don't want him in our lives, and it's what my sister should have done too. But losing everything, even her own marriage, isn't surprising when you only think about money. They're selfish motives, like our father's, and that's why he goes through life leaving wounded and angry people behind him. My sister inherited some of that, and that's why she's suffering. And her suffering increased because her husband managed to avoid paying child support and spousal support. They'll co-parent 50-50, so one way or another she will have to get a job before the money from selling the house runs out, as they agreed in the divorce. I'm glad to know this, not because some commenters are enjoying it, but because if I really wanted to rub it in her face, I could have written that I've been in a committed relationship for years and she hasn't. But my sister has enough on her plate already, and saying anything would only keep her in my life. The best thing I could do was not respond, which is a response in itself. So yes, this will be my final update. Edit, just to complete the update, no, my mother hasn't talked to her. She has her blocked and has no intention of contacting her. It's not a decision we made together, which is why it may change in the future. I only speak for myself when I say I don't want anything to do with my sister. But knowing my mother, I lean toward thinking she feels the same way.